So we're seeing a whole lot of buzz about duck leaders and ape armies, so we thought we'd ask Martin some questions about these creatures from the wildlife perspective.
Well, how would gorillas interact with a duck? They wouldn't. There would really be, you know, very little interaction. I could see a young gorilla playing and wanting to chase things and play, and think it was funny to run along the shore and maybe a duck would fly away and it would get a kick out of watching that. But as far as any real interaction, that doesn't exist because apes is kind of a slang term. Some people will consider chimpanzees as apes and orangutans as apes and humans as apes and those kinds of things. So if we're talking gorillas, then we're talking a specific category. I think a more appropriate term would be a dumb human. How would an army of apes work together? Uh, they wouldn't. There's no such thing as an army of apes. Apes live in small groups, family groups, and they're very territorial, and they don't allow other family groups to come into their territory without a lot of time and respect. And so, yeah, the whole idea of an army of apes is, just wouldn't work. Yeah, our armies only occur in the primates called humans. The families are usually relatively small. You know, they can have the main family maybe half a dozen or so, and then they can have a few stragglers around the perimeters of the family organization. Well, there certainly would be the dominant male and the dominant female, and and then everybody else is kind of subordinate to them. But as far as like I said, in a structure is done by just strictly by brute force. And if you have a dominant male, that you have a young male come up, um, and he is younger and he's faster and he's stronger, he will take over the position of the dominant male, and then the dominant male will be one of the apes on the outskirts of the family. Well, when someone says a dumb ape, they're probably speaking of human beings, because when you think of gorillas, for example, uh, incredibly intelligent, incredibly social, again territorial, but kind and gentle within their own troop. Um, they, gorillas have been able to be taught sign language, and they are tremendously bright. And like I said, they're not a warring creature in any way. They're actually a kind and peaceful creature, generally speaking. In order to organize a movement, uh, the truth of the matter is, uh, they are not motivated by greed, and they're not motivated by um, possessions. They have their territory, they have their families, they're close, but they're um, it is the human primate that has all of the emotional issues that cause us to do the things that we do. Apes are extremely intelligent, and left untouched by humans. They have a wonderful, gentle, peaceful existence. Again, they are territorial, and they will defend territories. But generally speaking, they are a kind and gentle and intelligent creature. My specialty is birds and raptors especially, uh, and I have on a number of occasions people have called me a bird brain, which is kind of like calling someone a dumb ape. But the truth of the matter is, I take that as a compliment, um, because to be a bird brain, birds are extremely intelligent, especially the raptors. Um, and if you go by brain size to body mass, which is a sign of intelligence, birds are more intelligent than we are. but all of that brain power goes into the mechanisms for flying. When you think of an army, you think of a group of individuals with a common cause, and they're going to defeat the enemy. That's kind of what you consider an army. That isn't the way um, animals think. Is gorillas are a great example of that. They don't see um, the other side of the mountain and in a different group of gorillas. They don't see those as the enemy. As long as they have sufficient for what they need, and the other group has sufficient for what they need, um, they will come close in contact with each other and see each other. But unless there's some kind of a territorial dispute, and then once the dispute is solved, each group goes its own different direction, and there's no animosity. If a gorilla, and this would be incredibly rare, if a gorilla is severely injured to the point of being killed by an opposing group of gorillas, um, the group that lost its member don't retaliate because of that. Um, things are far more basic. They don't have um, the kind of greed and anger and long-standing feuds that you see in the human primate. Um, they don't travel to the other side of the world to attack someone because they have a different religious belief. That just doesn't happen. Have always been inspired by greed. Um, this is why we find so often um, within the environment um, you have that, I don't know, 1-2%, 4%, 5% of the people on the planet that have like 90% of the wealth, um, and and the reality is that so many of these people, that's so ridiculous because they have so much money they couldn't possibly spend it, and when if we practiced the social standards that you find in some of the other great primates, um, we would be a lot more charitable, a lot more forgiving, and the world would be a much more safe and peaceful place.